Hello everyone, welcome to the series summarizing the novel Lord of the Mysteries on the AniMonolith channel. In continuation of previous parts, Joyce recounts his harrowing journey to Anna and her family, describing encounters with pirates, a violent shipboard madness, and a hero named Trissy who helped him survive. When Klein returns home, Klein reflects on mysticism and potion digestion, theorizing that acting according to a potion's nature might help assimilate its powers. He also contemplates why seers are knowledge-rich but less combat-capable, speculating it might be due to energy balancing or world mechanics. Klein then revisits his luck-changing ritual, realizing that its process, which involves placing 4 offerings, then moving counterclockwise, and finally praying to the Taoist gods, but not saying what it wants to do, leads to something random, and he is brought here. He decides to conduct further tests to clarify its consistency. Finally, Klein considers the possibility of a sleeping deity overseeing his experiences, which might imply both freedom and risk in his quest to return to Earth. He notes recurring clues, terms like Hornacis and Fregula tied to the Antigonos family's diary, the nation of Evernight, and a sealed artifact. After organizing his findings in coded notes, he burns them for safety, preparing to track clues weekly to aid his investigation without arousing supernatural attention. The next morning, Klein asked Melissa, who was on her way to school, to help deliver a letter he had written to Professor Quentin Cohen the night before, inquiring about information related to the 4th epoch. After Melissa left the house, Klein immediately closed all the doors and windows to practice spirit vision, as well as his divination methods using a rod and a pendulum. Once he had mastered the techniques, Klein settled himself to prepare for the upcoming gathering. However, this time, he did not wait until 3 p.m. as scheduled. Instead, he decided to enter the fog earlier to check for any unusual occurrences. But as he was about to move counterclockwise, Klein felt anxious about the Hanged Man and Justice not being free at this time. If they were to be drawn to such a mysterious location and were discovered by others, it could have unforeseen consequences. Therefore, Klein suddenly remembered that he had previously mentioned thinking of a way for the Hanged Man and Justice to take leave from the gathering as a routine, in case they were unavailable or encountered any difficulties. This issue was quite complicated to resolve, as the world did not have the internet, and using telegraphs would expose his location and even his identity. Thus, Klein thought of another approach, to use a magical ritual, because he had previously had good intuition during his searches for the boy Elliot and the whereabouts of the Antigonos family journal. Klein carefully considered, a magical ritual that borrows external forces calls for support from various mysterious entities. The preamble of the incantation must clearly specify the intended target for the invocation, such as Evernight Goddess or Blood Emperor. As the one controlling the gathering, Klein believed he could modify the incantation to make himself the subject of the invocation. In this way, even if the Hanged Man and Justice performed the ritual in a foreign land, they could still receive the corresponding information. Klein was immediately intrigued and began assessing the feasibility of this method. He identified 2 main challenges. First, his low sequence rank meant he likely wouldn't be able to receive the invocation, even if the incantation directly named him. Second, he wondered how to ensure the incantation accurately referenced him, as any misdirection could lead to serious danger. Thinking about this, Klein fell into a contemplative state as he had not resolved the issue. Then, a brilliant idea struck him, to link the invocation incantation with the mysterious fog. Klein reasoned that while he might not directly receive the invocation, the gray fog might still detect it. Since both the fog and the red stars could pull someone into the space with a single touch, he theorized that any invocation targeting him would link to that mysterious space. This meant that even if he couldn't immediately sense the ritual performed by the Hanged Man and Justice, he could see the information as soon as he entered the gray fog, similar, he thought, to checking messages online versus offline. With this thought, Klein faced another tricky problem: how to come up with an incantation that could accurately identify Klein and the mysterious fog. Although Klein had an incantation that he was sure would succeed, he decided to set it aside. If he translated the name Heavenly Lord of Mystical Birth and Prosperity from Taoism, which he had previously invoked, into the language of the Lone Kingdom, it might work in this world. However, the issue was that doing so would cause him to lose control over the gray fog, losing his dominant position in the gathering, so Klein chose to skip it. Then he thought of the incantation The Fool from Another World, but he quickly dismissed this idea as well. It would expose his secret of not being from this world. After careful consideration, Klein concluded an incantation that could embody both his identity and closely relate to the fog, the fool who does not belong to this era, and the mysterious lord above the gray fog. However, Klein was also worried that there might be many other spaces within the gray fog that he did not know about, even numerous mysterious gods or lords, which could lead to the spirit world. Therefore, if he was not careful, it could easily result in risks or deviation from the original goal. Klein then added another line to limit the target, the king of yellow and black who wields good luck. This line was equivalent to Heavenly Lord of mystical birth and prosperity, and relying on an incantation similar to those used in earlier entries into the fog showed that it could completely lock down the subject of the description. Nevertheless, Klein was still uncertain whether these three descriptions corresponding to the invocation incantation could effectively carry out the magical ritual. But he was confident that it would not draw attention or put the hanged man and justice in danger, such as encountering mysterious entities. Klein then quietly recited the incantation once more. "O the fool who does not belong to this era, you are the mysterious lord above the gray fog, you are the king of yellow and black who wields good luck." After carefully considering everything, Klein checked the time and realized it was nearly 3 p.m. He immediately moved counterclockwise and entered a state of cogitation. In this state, Klein once again faced countless mysterious and resonant sounds. He used cogitation to control himself and not listen to those sounds. Soon, the boundless gray fog quickly appeared before his eyes. The dark red stars, like eyes, flickered in and out of view. Klein immediately used his will to make himself disappear from his spot and sat on the master chair of the long table with 22 other chairs. Seeing that everything unfolded just like the previous 3 gatherings, Klein couldn't help but marvel, the effectiveness of the ritual is indeed fixed. Then, he tapped his glabella and thickened the gray fog surrounding him even more than before. Klein recalled what the hanged man had described, that the visionary pathway could observe and analyze every behavior and gesture of people, then draw very accurate conclusions about them. Since Justice had chosen this pathway, Klein had to be careful not to reveal his true identity, preferably by avoiding any gestures or movements in front of her. With no time to examine thoroughly, Klein raised his right hand to create an invisible connection with the 2 familiar dark red stars. At that moment, in the Sonia seas, Alger was aboard the unmanned ship the Blue Avenger. He sighed as, right at 3 p.m., a bright red light quickly enveloped him. Soon after, Alger vanished. Similarly, at the Hall family's mansion in the Queen's district of Backlund, Audrey was also enveloped by the dark red light, pulling her into a mysterious space. However, unlike previous occasions, Audrey closely observed every detail of the event as if she were a spectator watching a play unfold. When the hanged man and Justice had gathered together, Klein secretly used spirit vision to look at Justice's aura and confirm that she had indeed become a Beyonder. Just as Klein was about to look away, he suddenly noticed the high-backed chair belonging to Justice changing. The radiant star on its backrest quickly moved, forming an illusory constellation that did not belong to reality. In Klein's eyes, that constellation was very familiar, as it was one of the symbolic signs of mysticism, representing the giant dragon. Klein also did a similar action with the hanged man. He saw that the constellation on the hanged man's chair did not change, but since he had entered the realm of mysticism, he still recognized it as the symbol for storms. Additionally, Klein also noticed that the hanged man seemed to have recently leveled up from the sequence he previously held. However, he had no intention of delving into this matter and quickly moved on to the main topic of today's gathering, the results of the search for the whereabouts of Emperor Roselle's journal from the hanged man and Justice. The hanged man replied that he had found 2 pages and memorized their content, while Justice found 1 page, making a total of 3 pages for Klein. Audrey then proactively asked, "Now, the hanged man and I need to express the content we have seen to you, right, Mr. Fool?" Klein nodded in brief response, as he had to be cautious in front of the spectator. Just after Klein spoke, a piece of brown-yellow goat leather paper and a dark red fountain pen appeared before Audrey and Alger. The 2 took the pen and began to recall the symbols in their memories, eager to express them. Lines of text quietly appeared on the goat leather paper, some were neat and orderly, some were small and curvy. Both completed the task of expressing the contents of Emperor Roselle's journal quickly. Klein then immediately examined the 3 pages and discovered that although the hanged man and Justice had written in incorrect Chinese characters, the basic content was still readable. The contents of the 3 journal pages were as follows. April 8th, I stood at the bow of the ship Black Throne, spread my arms wide, and told Grimm and Edwards, Want my wealth? Then go to the end of the misty sea and find it. I've hidden everything there. However, they did not understand my metaphorical words, so I told them they could not make the 4 horsemen of the heavenly revelation for me. April 11th, I discovered an unnamed small island not located on the safe maritime route, where there are quite a few supernatural species. April 15th, Grimm has become strange. Is he attracted to something? Upon reading this, Klein immediately speculated on several pieces of information. Had Emperor Roselle ever left his home kingdom of Intis? Was the Misty Sea mentioned by Roselle currently located to the west of the Republic of Intis? Klein would need to cross-reference these details with historical documents before reaching a final conclusion. He then continued reading the contents of Roselle's journal. October 2nd, they decided to betroth me to Matilda of the Able family without consulting me first. No way, I must refuse. I intend to run away. But then, Klein noticed Roselle's rapid change upon meeting Miss Matilda, as on October 5th and 6th, he praised this arranged fiancée. Klein also discovered that Roselle did not write in his journal every day, he only wrote when something made him want to mock or needed to express his emotions. Finally, the last page of the journal appeared before Klein, October 9th, they called me the child of steam again, I like it. Seeing that the first 2 pages of the journal contained no valuable content, Klein felt a bit disappointed, but he did not dwell on it and moved the 3rd page to the top. Both sides of this journal page contained content. May 21st, the Church of Eternal Blazing Sun offered me 2 choices as the beginning of 2 sequences. One is Savant, a complete sequence that their church possesses. The other is Mystery Prior, lacking high sequence, obtained from the Suffering Order of Morse. May 22nd, my choice was very simple, Savant, because it has a complete sequence. Although holding much knowledge of mysticism might help me find a way home, if I am not strong enough, I will definitely have to borrow external power. Whether external power is good or bad is something that cannot be controlled, making it easy to encounter danger. Therefore, I decided to become stronger and rely on myself to return. Thus, a complete sequence is the foremost factor that influenced my choice. May 23rd, I became a savant, relying on the strength of this potion. I can remember all the knowledge I had learned before, such as physics, chemistry. Not only remember, but I also deeply engrave and understand them. May 26th, I truly enjoy this savant identity. A strange thing is, when I believe I am a savant, everything I do aligns with it. The whispers that nearly drove me mad have quieted down considerably. Perhaps this is the role play that mysterious Zeridal spoke to me about? Perhaps this is the key to resolving the hidden disasters of the potion. Upon reading these lines of Roselle's records, Klein felt admiration for him. Roselle wanted to take control of danger himself, while Klein only wished to avoid it by understanding mysticism. One was proactive, while the other was passive.